Okay, Red, go
So
ahead.
yeah,
What were you saying?
so what I was saying was, I honestly, I see, I want to believe, but I know that's not the fact currently in the charts. Like, TA wise, I would definitely say we're going down, right? But my belief as a Bitcoin, like, let's say, supporter, holder, or a person who has been dealing with crypto for a long period of time, I think this is the moment for BTC or crypto. Like, this is what we were built for. Like, the world financial system is in fire, like, literally, with the China drama and the US inflation, like, not being able to control its inflation, and all these factors being there in play, and then the housing market issues. I mean, this is where Bitcoin should start decoupling from the stock market. I believe this bleeding for the stock market is not done yet. I think we have a lot more to go for, but I really wish and hope that we get a reversal in BTC and we start to see a decoupling, despite the whole exposure to USDT still being there. That is still a fact. I'm not denying it, right? But I think this is the moment for BTC to shine. That's what I feel.
So far, what I've been seeing over the past few months is BTC and the crypto market correlating more with financials more than it's ever been.
Yeah,
I
that is
find
true.
like it's never been that correlated. Um, yeah, for sure. We all hope that BTC um, does that, because then we could really try start to say that it's a
Because
hedge.
mainstream wise, definitely we are in I mean, I think the reports that have come from what we have seen from all the Fed meetings, we can definitely say we are in a recession of sorts. We definitely, there's no question about whether we are going to be in a recession. We are definitely in a recession-ish session right now.
Yeah, yeah.
That is a fact.
Well, so they haven't called a recession yet, and it's a
They,
technical.
they haven't used the R word yet.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They've
But
been very
it's a
careful.
technical thing, and it's counterintuitive. But because once they use the
Yeah,
word recession, I think markets will pump, not dump. Because
definitely.
I think the uncertainty around when they're going to call for a recession is what's causing the market to continuously dump, aside from CPI and interest rates and all of this.
Yeah.
I think once they actually say, okay, guys, we're in a recession, I think the markets are going to pump. And this is counterintuitive, but at least at that point, okay, we've said the word recession. There is no more pain to go before whatever is going to happen happens when it comes to recession. We've hit the bottom because now they've used the word recession. And I think markets will pump around the time where the word recession is used. It's a bit
That definitely you
counterintuitive,
can
but
expect.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Look, I wanted to show you guys this, okay? And it's been a long time coming, and we are where we are today. And I drew this a while back, and I don't want to at all insinuate that I knew this was going to happen, because I didn't. I mean, I didn't guess at 42,000 that we'd be talking about 17,
I
but I
think we
drew it.
sort of knew it. I
Well,
think we sort of knew it, but we wanted to stay positive. I think that
listen,
is the main thing.
I drew it nonetheless back then as like, okay, it's an option, but I didn't really believe we would get to where we
Yeah.
are today. So I would say that my mindset changed here in this region is when I started to change my mindset. And I was
Mm.
really in this belief in this region here. Okay. I didn't want to accept that we were going to continue down. That, I'm being honest. Most people will say, I knew, and I knew it's whatever. You know what? I'll let them talk for themselves. I didn't know. And I really didn't think we would reach here, but I drew it nonetheless back then, and whatever. So here's what I find very interesting, and here's where I'm calling a bottom for Bitcoin. Okay, and I'll tell you why. So we have this head and shoulders here, and we can go back and we could kind of analyze what this whole structure is. I've done it many, many times on these
Yeah.
live streams. I could do it again. Essentially, this is there's two schools of thought. As this is wave 3, this is wave 4, this is wave 5, and then we start a correction. But I've been saying for a while that this is actually wave 5, and this all-time high is not a new higher wave. It's actually a flat correction. We have an ABC followed by an ABC followed by 1 2 3 4 5, and that's a flat correction, and it's an extended flat correction, because extended flat corrections that are very confusing and get people to go in and actually go to become bullish because we went over the previous high. They're actually still, this is still part of a correction. So This would be wave A, this would be wave B, this would be wave C. So we could look at the extensions and why they are where they are, and we'll arrive in more than one way at the same conclusion. This is the fun thing about TA, is if you have a lot of confluence, you could start to form an opinion as to whether, you know, we are near a bottom or at a bottom or whatnot, or about to move forward in a different direction or not. So going back to this head and shoulders triangle here, the target of this head and shoulders is exactly around the $13,000 range. I don't want to be ever exact in saying it's 12,850 because there's many variables. There's liquidations sometimes that crash, flash crashes that can cause major liquidations and make the price go a lot lower than intended or should go. And that's why in leveraged markets, Elliott wave analysis, the rules can be bent because of leveraged, highly leveraged markets, and because you know, stop losses and shorts are stop losses, excuse me, in long positions, or liquidations in long positions, or vice versa if we're going up, defy the rules because it's not a voluntary movement. It's not like people are selling voluntarily at those prices. They're forced into liquidation, or they're forced into a stop loss position because the market moved against them. So if we take that initial very important head and shoulders here and we draw a target for it, we reach about 13,000. Fast forward till today, I posted about, I don't know when, over a month ago in TA, that we were in a flat correction, which could have been an extended flat, or we were starting a new wave. So what I see today is we definitely started a new wave after this extended flat. This is like for sure. And if you go and if you want more details why I said what I said back then, it's in the TA channel. Go take a look where it says flat correction, and then the explanation as to why the flat correction, we can have a combination where we could have continued. We would have had, after the flat correction, an any three wave followed by another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the upside, and then we would have continued down. But in this case, we didn't. The flat correction ended here. And why I'm saying the flat correction ended here, I'll explain to you, is because we made a new low after this point here, where this point here would have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, we went lower than this. This would have been a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 prior to continuing back down. So I initially said if this was a combination further than a flat, a simple flat, which is a ABC 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we would have had a 1, 2, 3, which was an any three and heading down, and then a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This could have been a possible end to the correction, but we would have definitely have had to go up. The fact that we came down below this point here, and I'm just going to zoom in on this point here, the fact that we actually went lower than this point here, which is where I had wave one, we actually went lower. To me, this tells me that this was not an any three. This is not a continuation. We're now starting a new wave, and that new wave literally started. Let me move the box. Started here, and because 1 is so long, 2 is so short, 3 there's major support here. I would call this wave 3. This is going to end up being a bullish wedge, and it makes sense because what happens after a bullish wedge? This happens after a bullish wedge. Okay. So I'm predicting for now, based on the market structure that we have now, based on the length of wave 1, based on a shorter wave 3 and an even shorter wave 5, that we're going to enter into what's called a bullish wedge formation. And look at this. I found this really interesting as I was playing around before this today's live TA. Oops, somebody's coming in. Let me just put them in. Here we go. So okay, so I found this really interesting as I was playing with the chart this morning, taking a look at this life formation. We're just going to draw out 3 triangles, okay? So we're going to draw this triangle here. We're going to draw this triangle here. So essentially is what you've already figured out is I'm drawing another head and shoulders triangle, and we're drawing this final triangle here. So somewhere around this region, and it's important to talk about around this region because nothing is exact. It's not like, you know, people that say there's one neckline and you break that neckline and it's over. it's not true, because the neckline could be broken, and then you can go back above the neckline, test it a couple of times, go back down, go above it, come back down. There's fake outs, there's all kinds. So you know what? One thing I've done for myself, I've learned over the years, is not to be so kind of married to one number or one line or one support, but more to a region. This looks to me like a very, very clear head and shoulders. The fact that I'm coupling it with a long wave 1, and then I'm predicting shorter wave 3 and shorter wave 5, means it's a bullish wedge. And the target of this head and shoulders, the exact target of this head and shoulders, coincides with the target of the larger head and shoulders that I just spoke about earlier, which is, where is it? From this larger head and shoulders. So it just goes and gives us a low to look forward to, in the sense of not looking forward, not that we want Bitcoin to drop, or some maybe do, but in the 13K region. It's the region, guys. Again, very important. And it just so happens to also have, a lot of confluence with previous price history. It has confluence with Fibonacci extensions. It has confluence with this head and shoulders, has confluence with previous head and shoulders. And if you remember correctly, if you guys remember, in 2020, when we broke above 13K, there was a huge cluster. Look at that. Look at this cluster here, okay? So there's a lot of confluence for these price figures, guys. So here, we'll just draw a few more lines just in this region. And you could see those lines are all in this region here. There's a lot of action in this region. So if we go zoom out a little bit more, this is a very important region. So it would make sense to me that in the, let's say, short to medium term, that this would be a very good area for Bitcoin to bounce. And as you can see from the VPVR, this is the top of a region where we have a lot of support underneath. For Bitcoin to get through all that support, I would say, is very difficult. So people calling for 7, 9, 10, 11, whatever, I could tell you that 12, 13, there's major support, more support than we had when we came down to the 19K, which was the previous all-time high. So for me, I'm looking at a 13K Bitcoin if things continue the way they look today, with Elliott wave, with support and resistance, with VPVR, which just shows us interest in price action at a particular level. I'm looking for this bullish wedge, because just by definition, when you have a short wave, a long wave 1, a shorter wave 3, a shorter wave 5, what you're creating is a wedge. And from this massive wedge, I'm looking to see a sharp V-type recovery from those regions. Now, this is TA and pure TA. We don't take into account the market sentiment. We don't take into account what's happening with the Fed, interest rates, DXY. But if we start taking it into account, it actually plays into the scenario, because you could see stocks, the stock market hit an all-time 2022 low yesterday. June was the all-time low for crypto. Well, yesterday was the all-time low for the stock market in the States. So there is more pain to come. Everybody was kind of worried about the interest rate announcement coming out last week. But I mean, I don't think anybody thought for 1 second that the Fed wouldn't raise interest rates. And if anybody thought it would be less than 75 basis points, I think, they were just being very hopeful. I was actually worried it would go to 1 entire point.
That was even my problem. Like, if it was 100, it would have been a bloodbath.
Yeah, I thought that, this guy might actually go to 100 basis points. So he kept kind of with the market sentiment or hopes that it wouldn't be above 75. But the market still dumped, because there's still fear in the market. There's, again, not using the word recession at a time like this acts as a catalyst for more downside, because it means that we didn't reach the bottom. Because if you didn't say recession yet, that means we didn't reach the bottom, right? So the bottom is still ahead of us. But once you start to say recession and everybody agrees, okay, this is it, this is a recession, well, now you have hope that maybe you didn't reach the bottom, but the bottom is near. So yeah, it's a bit of a precarious situation because you don't normally have, these levels of inflation with these levels of unemployment figures that are so low. There's still a very vibrant economy, and it's very hard to stop inflation just by raising interest rates when you have such a high demand for people working and there is wealth. Yes, it's costing more money to buy groceries. It's costing more money to fly and whatnot. But what is happening is people are just like, this is just one example. People, I figure, this is my opinion, people are saying, okay, well, I can't fly this year because it costs double the plane ticket, or my pound or my dollar is not worth as much. But they're still working. They're still working and they're making more money than they ever did. And that money is being spent on stuff that they can spend on without traveling. So it's hard to get rid of that inflation in times like this. It's a bit of a paradox because usually when you have this kind of inflation and wages are not keeping up, people are still maybe traveling or spending money elsewhere. Gas is not where it is today, and you have a major European fuel and energy issue. It's just we're seeing things for the first time, as far as I can tell, that make it for a very complex economical situation, where
Yeah,
normally
the
you just say,
political scene is absolutely horrible.
sorry,
The social political scene currently is
yeah,
really bad in
yeah,
almost every place, right?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
even the energy crisis that's coming from the Russian Ukraine issue, which hasn't still finished.
that's right.
To top that
It's
off, we
still,
also have the Chinese real estate market issue still running, which is not solved. Now, on top of that, there are more rumors going on that there's a military coup going on in China. So that again, China is a key factor in everything because they're the heart of the supply chain market.
yeah,
So any issue that happens there reflects in every single economy and every country in its own way.
that's right.
So
That's right.
and there are a lot of social political circumstances also to play.
All this to say, honestly, that you know what, people might be depressed that the price of Bitcoin is there, the market is there, and it's insensitive of me or anyone to say, guys, you have an opportunity, because people lost a shitload of money. So it's a little bit, it could be very insensitive to tell people be happy because you have an opportunity to buy, and they might answer you, buy with what? I lost everything. I bought stuff at $300 that's now fucking 30 cents or whatever. No, 30 cents, let's say whatever. But like, it's insensitive to say, but for those who can, for those who can afford it, and for those that can really, and when I say afford it, doesn't mean you have the money. I mean, you can afford to forget about that money for a while. You know what? It's a real opportunity right now. And I've said it for a while in CS that I was waiting for 18.9 to start DCAing. I'm
Did
still
I?
DCAing. I'm still DCAing. And I was telling Meow before you guys all joined, if I knew for a fact that I was right, that we're going to 13K, why would I DCA? I would just wait. I don't know that for a fact. Nobody does. So that's why we DCA, because you say it's like a bit of a hedge. If it goes to 13 and you've planned your purchasing in such a manner that you still have some dry powder when it's at 13, well, you know what? Yeah, you say to yourself, damn it, I knew it was going to go, and I wish I waited, but you don't really know. No one really knows. I don't care how good you are. If you say for sure, you're full of shit. You don't know. There's many people that will only use the examples that where they were right and forget about the examples where they were wrong, where they preached a certain thing. In all honesty, I think that's what's going to happen. I don't know it for sure. And the proof of the matter, the proof is that I'm DCAing right now. I'm not waiting for 13 because I don't know that it'll come. It just, from a TA perspective, from a socioeconomic perspective, there's more pain ahead. But things can turn around tomorrow. The next time the CPI figures might come in at, I don't know, 50% lower because something that wasn't taken into account last month. And you could see a massive run, which can start a whole other, like, nobody knows. There's way too many variables. So if you have the dry powder, if you can afford to wait, my best advice is DCA right now. Don't wait, because things can change very quickly. DCA means don't go all in either, right? So
You need to
So
have a plan. That's the main thing.
yeah, have a plan. Have a plan. Like I already have my buy orders for Bitcoin set. And you know what? Ethereum, again, it's not a situation where I want to say I told you so, I told you so, but I've been saying for a while that I think it's a sell the news event, and so far it has been. It's gone down, and looking at Ethereum, I feel like it's going to go down some more. I have buy orders for Ethereum below 1K. The next support at 1250, go back into the TA channel, you'll see it that I said that if Ethereum falls below, I remember what at the time it was like 1650s or whatever it was. The next support is 1250. We're at that support, but the next support doesn't mean the bottom, and I don't think it's at the bottom because Bitcoin doesn't look to be like it's at the bottom. And if the merge was a catalyst for an Ethereum hike, well, we would have seen it already. We've seen the opposite. So we've seen, a kind of like a pump and dump in a way. I don't want to say this was something that Ethereum did, not by any means, but I think there are those in the market that maybe took advantage of the hype to pump up the price and then dump on the market. And we see there was major dumping on the market, and a lot of dumping from miners who maybe you could say were out of spite or whatever, but the fact remains there's a major dumping of Ethereum going on and still going on in the market. I think Ethereum is great. I think Ethereum will always at least be number two. But I don't think it's time to go all in. It's good to DCA, and it's probably good to DCA right now as well, not to just wait below 1,000.
The time to be cautious.
You have to be cautious. It's a good way to put it. And you know what? I strongly believe, I should say, that maybe not in a year, but in 2, we'll be back at all-time high levels. So if you can think of it that way, and if you could spare the money and forget about it for a few years, does it not make sense to DCA in right now? Unless you have a better investment that you can get a better return elsewhere. I don't know, maybe that could be an option. But if you're into crypto and you think crypto's here to stay, and you think it's going, it's gonna be the future, and Bitcoin, there's X amount of Bitcoin left to mine, and so owning a Bitcoin will one day really mean something. Well, you know what? We have a second shot at this, or second, it's a lot more than second, but certainly given that it was at 65,000, it's a decent shot at owning a Bitcoin at least. Yeah, that's what I think.
Good point. And I think even on RSI, we are following a bullish divergence on daily chart, I guess.
I'm sorry, Red?
I said even on the daily, we're slowly starting to form a bullish divergence. I mean, we still need more confirmations, but yeah, but we also have a bullish divergence coming up on the RSI. And that would also go along with the 13K fall also, because if you make a higher low on the RSI and make a lower low on chart properly, then that would be perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing to keep in mind is, markets work in cycles. And here we're going to talk about Elliott wave cycles because they're drawn that way. But just because something's going down doesn't mean it's not going to go up before it goes back down, because that's how a cycle works. So when you're going up, the retracement is down. When you're going down, the retracement is up. So it's another thing to keep in mind for those that are waiting for a sign of strength. That sign of strength might just be a retracement. So be careful.
Have a plan on this.
Yeah, have a plan. See where you want to buy, where you're happy to buy, where it doesn't bother you. If the price goes below, it's not going to bother you. You're going to say, it's fine. I'm happy to have bought there. I'm just going to wait because I knew I was going to wait anyway. In the beginning,
slowly start
trading,
I
used to go crazy when I started trading. I would like stare at a chart all day, like almost like every minute what was happening, and oh my God, and I should have. It's like with time, you become a bit numb to all of this, and you start looking at, okay, what do I really want out of this? What's the long-term view? If you're a day trader and you're leveraging 50 or 100x, yes, obviously you have to sit there and stare at the chart, and it's and for those people that are doing that kind of leverage, unless you're really, really lucky, you're either going to be liquidated or you're in and out like within 20 seconds. If you're talking serious money, because I've seen a lot of people that have lost a fortune, but I've also seen people that boast, their winnings. But you know what, guys, you can go in with $1 and put 100x and show that you were up 1,000%. And I'm telling you, high leverage trading, you could do the math. You can go on Binance and you could simulate all of this. If you're really putting a meaningful amount, let's say you're putting in $1,000 to $3,000 in there, unless you have an account with over 100K, you could be wiped out in an instant. It's a pure gamble, pure gamble. I really, really don't suggest you follow those kind of trading unless you're really like, wow, like you must be amazing, or you get lucky. I've gotten lucky once in a while and gone in a very high leverage. And
I think even futures requires a little bit of a planning.
Yeah.
And also a lot of risk management. I think it's not a good practice to even have 5% of your total portfolio in futures.
No,
like lesser than that. I would keep it less than 1%, right?
Yeah.
And start small. Like that is the main thing of futures. Like if you get greedy, it knows the market literally can feel your greed. And I think futures is the best place to get your fear and greed out in a way, because it'll literally wreck you in certain ways. But at the same time, on some ways, if you go really patiently, you manage your funds well, I think it's a good game as long as you know how to handle your emotions. I think that is a key factor in futures.
100%. 100%. So anybody have any comments, anything they'd like to add, any questions? Now's the time.
Everything's about liquidity, and it keeps getting drained. And as it keeps getting drained, the price goes down.
Of course. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. It's a very good point.
So in that case, how do we anticipate the market? What should we do? Because right now everybody confused. Everybody expect like it's going up, but actually it's going down. And when it's going down, it's actually going up. So how do we control our emotion in that case?
Sure. So just to make sure that maybe misunderstood what I said. So markets work like this. I'm just gonna do like a little tutorial on Elliott waves. Okay, very simple. I'm not gonna get into details because Elliott waves is a very complex field that I say I'm maybe 20-30% good at, because it's people are paid millions of dollars to interpret Elliott waves. So I'm not gonna pretend to be one of those people. This is a bull cycle going up. So you have wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, wave 5. In this case, the overall direction is, as you could see, is up. Okay, but nothing goes up forever. Okay, even if the end result, so if this is the starting point and this is the ending point, it's not going to go up in a straight line. It's going to go up in waves. So waves 1, 3, and 5 are called impulse waves, and they're the waves that are going in the direction of the trend. And then wave 2 and wave 4 are retracement waves. So what I was saying earlier about up, down, down, up is when something's going up, it's going to come down at one point before it continues going back up. Now, how much it comes down, where it shouldn't go below, and all of this, that's Elliott wave theory and Elliott wave analysis. And it's 6 inches of documents and paperwork to really truly study and understand that. I'm not going to get into it here. As I said, I know the basics. I don't want to at all say I'm an expert, but I know enough to tell you it's very complicated, and that you can't assume that just because we're on our way up, that we start to come back down, let's say here, that, oh shit, we're going back down. You can't assume that, because going down on the way up is sometimes, most of the time, a retracement before we continue back up. And the same could be said for coming back down. If you're going down, well, as you're going down, you're also going to go up sometimes before you continue back down. That's all I wanted to tell you. So if you're inexperienced with trading or chart patterns or Elliott wave theory, or the 100 other different means or tools at your disposal to analyze charts, Don't go into something just because you see a green candle. That's really my message. Or if you want to sell something, don't sell it just because you see a red candle. Does that make more sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Okay. You know the old adage that everybody kind of uses in trading is buy red, sell green.
Simple as
Buy when it's dumping, sell when it's pumping. It's a bit nothing to do with the Elliott wave theory, but just it's also a good thing to keep in
It's a
mind.
simple rule to have in life. You shouldn't buy when someone is talking something too much about. Simple as it gets. When everyone is talking about getting out of something, that's when you get in.
Yeah. Any other questions? It was a good question. Any other charts you guys want to take a look at? Anything in particular? I always like to look at Bitcoin because Bitcoin kind of sets the pace for the market. I used to look a lot more at alts.
Let's
You
look at
know,
XRP. I think XRP has been interesting for the last. I mean, in this boring market, I feel XRP has been doing quite little sparky.
yeah, no, XRP is pumped a lot. I think
Yeah,
doubled. I think.
yeah. It's 0.2 earlier. It's now 0.5.
I don't like XRP, but we'll look at
Even
it.
I don't like it much, but I think they're making. I mean, they're starting to lead a change that is supposed to come in terms of.
Yeah.
Uh,
One thing I noticed about XRP is whenever the market come to an end, like at the last moment before a big last dump, XRP always pump.
Oh
that's
yeah,
true.
I haven't noticed
Yeah,
that.
look at the history though. I I had that the few time and I bought like a bunch of XRP when it's really low.
Hmm.
And when I think, okay, so this is the moment, this is like the bottom already. It dump one more time.
Yeah. Oh, I never noticed that. It's an interesting. I'll definitely take a look at that. Look, XRP right now. There's talk that the SEC and them are hopefully they say that this is going to be over soon. They claim that they are and have been engaged by the CBDC governments of different countries looking to start a CBDC to pilot programs. If you really read it, if you really get into it, you'll see that it's very small, obscure countries. It's like I don't personally take it seriously. Um, I don't see why a government would need XRP, Ripple Labs, whatever, to start their own CBDC. I don't see it personally. I could be wrong.
So actually, I have a point on this in this
Yeah.
regard, right? So let's say you are a small country that doesn't have that many resources or talents in terms of handling like a currency by yourself, right? So you would be looking for a trust factor, right? I mean, a coin that you can fall back on no matter what is going on. And if you look at all the legal scenes that has been going on with XRP now, these have become precedents, right? Like all these XRP cases and stuff. Now they're going to set a precedent for the crypto market as a whole because of how they won the case, right? So I think the factor that they have won and they have set a precedent in this way sort of increases their trustability score and the confidence in holding that currency a bit. Not for us small users, but I'm saying in terms of a country at least a small country, right? Like you said, we're talking about really small countries over here. So in that way, I think their mindset would be like to go to a currency where there is some trust factor that is available, and also they'll handle all the technical aspects to things. And I think adoption in small countries is a good thing because you can set an example for bigger countries, saying that see all these countries have tried it, it's working out for them, their users have adopted it, there is adoption happening. Why don't you give it a try over here? So I think these can be living case sets and case studies of how currencies would work in small countries in a smaller setting. I would say in that way, it's a good experiment for XRP. And like I said, they're paving the way for normalization of crypto, is what I feel. I don't like the currency as a whole as such, but I feel their current placement in history is, I think it's a really good place where they are right now. That's my thought.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't followed recently what's happening with them and the SEC. Last thing I read, and I was just checking it now, is that the SEC moves to throw out the SEC lawsuit. I'm not quite sure what that means. Does it mean that they're petitioning the court, that the court tell the SEC leave us alone, or did the SEC agree to leave them alone? I don't know. I don't really know. I haven't done any research really. I'm just looking quickly now. Maybe there is a use case for it, but it's like a use case of any other company. So, and let me just be clear. What I mean is, it's not a crypto. For me, it's not a crypto project. Okay. I don't view it as a crypto project where, we look to crypto projects for decentralization, blah blah blah. Ripple Labs own by far, and I mean by far, the vast majority of XRP, right? And we know that it's been years that they've had, this in escrow, and they've just been dumping on the market. And something, in a way, and I know that by standard tokenomic definitions, XRP is not inflationary because XRP has a limited supply. And I got into this argument yesterday with somebody in the chat about this. But when you take into account that all this XRP is being held by one entity and dumps them on the market, it almost makes it pseudo-inflationary, because the argument that it's deflationary is very invalid, because there's not enough use case right now for XRP for there to be enough XRP tokens burned to make it deflationary. And if the majority is being held by one entity that just keeps on dumping it on the market, I don't see how you can call it deflationary. And that's why I say it's inflationary, because every month there's more dumped onto the market. So, and from that sense, it is inflationary. It's not inflationary in the sense of how many XRP are there in total, but what does it matter if 90% or 80%, I don't know the numbers, or even 60% is held by one person, one company? It's like it defeats the whole purpose. Yeah, you could look at a tokenomics sheet and say, oh, there's a maximum supply, therefore it's not inflationary. But you think about it a little bit more, is it really not inflationary if there's one entity that keeps on dumping on the market? I don't know.
What's XRP used for? It has no use case. Ripple does.
Yeah,
XRP
but
doesn't.
XRP has a use case. The use case for XRP is that every time you do a transaction through Ripple of transfer, or whether it's CBDCs or something else, XRP is burnt. That's the use case.
It is, but it's so tiny in comparison to other things that actually it will never dent it.
Exactly. That's why I was saying the other day, I don't remember who I was arguing with yesterday in the chat, and I just said, fuck it, forget it, is that their whole thing is, oh, no, it's deflationary because it's burned. But you know how many transactions you need to actually make it count, to make it mean anything? And if one entity holds all this XRP, it's not circulating, and they just dump every month. Okay, yes, there's a maximum amount of XRP, but it makes it inflationary, not by the strict definition of inflationary, but you know what I mean, DJ.
Yeah, but that's what their practices are absolutely shady. That's the reason I don't like the project. But yeah, I cannot deny the good things that is happening for them at the same time as well.
And look at this, okay? I always look for unsustainable pumps or unsustainable dumps. Look, we're looking at the weekly chart. You tell me, Red, what do you see? Look at the RSI here. Look at the RSI here. What do you see? I'm not going to say it.
It definitely looks like it's going to their market. Bear run now.
Yeah, it's a fake pump. To me, this is a fake pump. This is a fake out. And it's something many times with Ripple. They do this. They get people to FOMO in. And then there's a huge marketing campaign on Twitter. You'll see all kinds of chatter about Ripple and now, and the time is here. And you're gonna regret it, blah blah blah, and they get people to FOMO in, and then they dump on them. I've seen it so many times with Ripple. It's like I don't even pay attention anymore. Anyway, yeah, I don't like Ripple. I used to like it
Oh,
when
I absolutely get your sense. Even I hate Ripple.
when I
Also-
started in crypto. It was the first thing that I bought, and I held it, and in the end when I started to understand crypto and understand
I
what
think
crypto-
ADA and XRP are the 2 coins I've always hated on.
well,
This is the
ADA,
first time I've actually said something good about XRP.
ADA, you can't say is like an XRP because ADA, it is a crypto project, and ADA, I mean, love it or hate it. The problem with ADA is they wanted to measure 10 times, build once. That's the problem with ADA. It took forever. So now we'll see. We'll see what happens with ADA, but I can't put ADA and XRP in the same boat.
It's a shit coin.
I know somebody that had a
True.
shit with ADA, and I don't know what then.
Shut up, you.
One thing I do like, and it took a big beating, a huge beating, is Cadena. I really like Cadena. I still like Cadena. I still DCA into Cadena. It took a beating. I mean, a major, major beating. And I think that Cadena, the biggest problem with Cadena, is people don't know enough about Cadena.
Everything's about marketing. Doesn't matter how good your product
No,
is.
that's
If your
exactly.
marketing's crap, it's down.
There's not enough marketing. There's not enough marketing.
Is DeFi already available at Cadena?
Yes, of course. Yeah, there's one platform I can think of off the bat is Caddex, KADDEX.
Okay.
But no one knows about it, and that's the problem.
There's not enough marketing on Cadena. Cadena is like a how do I put this? Cadena is a faster, cheaper Bitcoin. Think of it that way.
So it's Litecoin.
Faster.
So it's Litecoin.
Yeah.
Don't
Cadena
get me
has
wrong, Litecoin's a shitcoin as well.
it's also a proof of work, but it has a different mechanism to pay its miners. They're not paid by transaction. They're paid by I don't remember the details, but instead of miners getting paid X each time there's a transaction, there's a pool out of which miners get paid, and has nothing to do, like, your transaction fees on Cadena are tiny. And the speeds are very high. Yeah, it is like Litecoin in a way, but
Thank you. The and ADA, even though it is a shitcoin, I will go and buy that again. If,
No,
if it's 15 or 13 cents a coin, I'll go buy it again.
I don't own any ADA. Cardano. I did. I made money on it. I bought it and I sold it a few times. That was it. I never really held it.
I've never touched it. Like I said, XRP and ADA is 2 coins I've been always hating.
What do you guys think of Matic?
Shit.
Matic.
So one
Is doing a
question.
lot.
So I just
Sorry?
found this Caddex decentralized exchange. So this is the biggest exchange for Cadena.
I believe so. Yeah, I believe
Has
so.
like no liquidity.
Yeah, right now things are very bad because of the price of Caddex, the
Yeah.
price of Cadena. That's the problem.
What do you think about Phantom?
Phantom, I like Phantom. I don't quite understand why it dropped so much. I still hold my Phantom. I haven't
Yeah,
DCA'd into it yet because I think that if my feeling that Bitcoin's going to continue to tumble down, we're going to be seeing more deals on all these coins. So right now I'm DCAing only into large caps right now.
Okay. So are you also aware on other projects on Phantom ecosystems which you're bullish on?
There's a lot, and we invested in quite a few as Crypto Society.
Yeah, I know. Treep, for example.
Yeah, Treep was doing very well at one point, and right now not so much. What else? DJ. There was a few.
I think not so much on Phantom. So
yeah, no, on Phantom we had a few.
I think that Treep was the only one, to be honest.
No, there was others. I can't remember right now, but there was another couple of them. There was another two that I can't remember.
Yeah,
which
Treeb
one.
was the main one.
But Treeb was the main one, but there was another couple, I think.
So not as I know, but yeah, maybe you're right. I think 3 was the only one I can remember so far.
But everything for the altcoins will be a factor. So if Bitcoin goes down 10%, major altcoins will go down 15%.
And more, yeah.
Mediums will go down 30%. Macros will go down 50, 60, 70%.
Yeah, that's why for me right now, because I believe that the direction is still to down, I would be DCAing into large alts, large caps.
I've still not pulled the trigger.
I'm sorry, you still haven't?
Nope, I'm still holding on.
What are you waiting for? Like, what's your price range that you're waiting for?
When BTC breaks 17.5, I'll start DCAing then.
That's not a bad idea. I have buy orders at a bit over 17.5 and then under. I have more under than over. I started though at 18.9. I already DCA'd in from 18.9 all the way down to 18.3. I was like, wow, okay, exactly 18.3, and then a few days later, I went to 18.1. So,
but I'm only going to buy a little bit more of BTC. Everything else in majors is ETH, and I do have an ETH buy order set at 325.
wow, really?
That's only to get a scam wick.
I have ETH buy order set at 8 something. I remember why 8 something, but I have some at 8 something.
Yeah, that's the last low, isn't it?
If it goes closer to 1,000, I'm gonna buy some.
Oh yeah, I'm going to do that, but I've set the scam wick ones because, especially on Qcoin.
Yeah,
because they're good for scam wicks.
Have you ever gotten a scam wick buy order?
No, I just missed out on the Luna one.
Yeah. Oh my God! Don't talk to me about Luna. Fuck, man.
Oh, why is Luna pumping, dude? I do not understand. Why has it been pumping recently? It makes no sense to me.
It's a game. Luna's a game. It's a joke. It's a game.
I swear, right?
It's a degen coin now, so that's what it is. Think of it like Shiba in the early days.
DJ, you remember the live TAs? We used to do them every week. You remember what I used to say about Luna? I'm like, I don't understand why it's still going up. You remember that or not?
Yeah, I do. And I sold.
From a TA perspective, it made no sense, but it continued to go up. Now we know.
The mechanics underneath it, the thought was right, the mechanics were wrong. And that's the problem that with any kind of algo coin, they haven't got the mechanics right. As soon as they get that right, whatever it is will fly.
The ecosystem was quite nice, actually, to be honest, for Luna.
Anyway. So, okay, guys, listen, this was fun. I apologize we don't do them as often as we used to. I used to have Pumpy with the technology and everything that I got to figure it out. Like, I think I recorded this on Google Meet, so I'm going to see if I could put this on YouTube, and maybe we'll start to do these more often, especially now that the market, I think, is about to become more interesting.
It's going to puke big time. This is nothing yet.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you, everybody, for joining, and we'll see you.
Yeah, thank you for having me as well.
Thank you, Bilo.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers, guys.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Have a nice weekend.
You too.